I want to welcome you all here.
On Wednesday, the Transportation and Public Safety Committees began a two-day oversight hearing into the serious problems with the I-84 construction project in Waterbury and Cheshire. Construction began in 2002 to widen a 3.5-mile stretch of the highway. In the spring of 2006, it was discovered that more than 200 drains had not been installed properly or were defective. Following further investigation, the state fired the North Haven-based contractor in charge of the project, LGD Felice Incorporated. And last fall, the state canceled its contract with the McGuire Group, which was hired to oversee the drainage work on the project. In response, Governor Rell ordered an independent review of the two contractors, as well as the internal oversight of the Department of Transportation. This week, the committees heard from state officials, contractors, and auditors.
Testimony today should shed light on the nature of the problems identified and, to some degree, hopefully will affix primary responsibility for the errors that were made. And we will examine issues about contracting out, staffing shortages, cost overruns, change orders, public safety issues, cost of repairs, and many other areas as well. But importantly, we hope to come away with a better understanding of the type of legislation that we might want to undertake that would help prevent these types of failures in the future. If
this leads to legislation for next year or even during the special session, which we're still in, certainly it would be timely to take care of any issues that need some legislative attention. But also we need to reassure the public it's safe to ride on these roads, and to also tell them, sadly, that there'll probably be future delays because we've got to fix the problems as quickly as possible.
This is obviously an important oversight hearing, and it is one that I am very happy we are doing. We as the legislature, we as a co-equal branch of government, we as partners with the executive branch need to exercise our proper role of oversight. We need to, before problems arise, have conversations with and engage in oversight with our departments and agencies to make sure that what we believe is happening and should be happening is in fact happening, so that perhaps in the future we will be able to discover problems before they become too big.
I rarely, when testifying before committees, or frankly, in general, speaking to the press or speaking to anybody, use the word blame. It's usually inappropriate. It's usually unproductive. It's charged. I'm going to make an exception. There is plenty of blame to go around here. There's just no way to say it, no other way to say it. There were mistakes made at all levels, and I don't mean that in the passive sense. They were significant mistakes, many of which have been discovered and targeted. One of the things that is additionally troublesome is that fairly early in the process, a significant defect was uncovered, not by the Department of Transportation, not by the construction contractor, not by the construction inspector. Was discovered by a welder who realized that the bridge's concrete deck, one of the bridges that was being constructed, was had to be removed, and the diaphragms removed and installed correctly. That tells us a couple of things. One, it tells us early on that there was a problem with the construction contractor, and it tells DOT early on that there was a problem with the construction inspector, that the construction inspector was not the discoverer of this problem. Yet that heightened awareness that the department should have had did not result in heightened scrutiny. Over the last few months, Governor Rell has taken a number of steps to address the issues raised by the I-84 project and report. The biennial budget adopted last month included recommendations by the governor for 81 positions to improve construction oversight and inspection capacity of the Department of Transportation. In addition, we continue to work with the department to address engineering staffing issues. The governor has created a task force chaired by Pitney Bowes chairman Michael Critelli to address reorganization and direction of DOT. The governor has ordered that DOT will now require a constructability review of all projects to ensure that they are buildable, biddable, and cost-effective and maintainable.
Where we see opportunities for improvement in the way that construction projects would be advanced in DOT are in quality control, quality assurance, and the administration of the contracts. Constructability reviews, we believe, are an area that would yield significant improvements and make sure that the job doesn't change significantly once it goes to construction. The way I would characterize the quality control, quality assurance strategy under the way this job was conducted is that it was linear, so that there was the person over the top of the next person was to look over their shoulder to make sure they were doing it right. When the resident engineer was reduced in his role to oversee the field work, and with his interface with the contractor, the resident engineer essentially stepped away from that quality assurance role of looking over the chief inspector's shoulder.
We identified, can be categorized into 4 separate categories. The first, and probably the most significant, is the mislocated or misaligned basin construction. This is a parapet wall for one of the bridges on the exit 25A eastbound ramp to Austin Road. This particular basin is 16 inches offset from where it's supposed to be. You can't see it from the shadow, but the opening is here somewhere. It's actually cascading toward the road. In order to better show what type of problem we had here, one of my inspectors just did up a little sketch, and here's what the sketch looks like, just to identify the problem. Here's the parapet you were just looking at. This is reversed, obviously. This is the basin bottom, or the basin itself. It's 16 inches out before there's an opening, a clear opening from the grate. So effectively, this grate has a 6-inch opening. This opening isn't sufficient enough to get maintenance crews in there to clean out the basin or whatever in the future. So the effective opening of this particular basin is 6 inches. Secondly, there's very little bearing surface here at the front of the basin, as you can see here. So this particular basin is in danger of failure with sustained loading, for example, from heavy trucks or sustained vehicle traffic over it. This particular basin was 3.5 feet offset from the curb. This is the curb. You can't even see the opening here because the opening is actually in here, under here. And the basin is out here in the middle of the street. Again, I had my inspector draw up a little sketch, and this is what it looks like. Here's the curb, here's the top, here's what the basin looks like, here's the basin itself. It's cascaded all the way over 3.5 feet from where it's supposed to be. In addition, there was plywood supporting the masonry work, and you can see this top had very little bearing on the structure itself. Basically, 3/4-inch plywood was holding up this basin top on Route 70. A little concern for DOT, to say the least. Typical findings that we made during the pipe investigation include open pipe joints and displaced joints. Those are joints between pipe runs on the drainage, damaged pipes, dissimilar pipes and pipe reductions, missing pipes. That's mostly dealing with the under drain. We only found 1 occurrence of a missing pipe. Adverse grade and inlet-outlet disparity. That means a pipe that's either pitched the wrong way, there's a belly in the pipe. In general, the poor workmanship finding again shows up in this particular investigation.
The unanswered question, I guess, is how does this happen? If materials are submitted to DOT, the DOT lab for testing, the testing is confirmed on that material to be that the material is appropriate and adequate for the purpose it's assigned, and then the materials that are actually used turned out to be defective or inappropriate. What are you to conclude from that? What are we to conclude from that? How does that happen?
Well, the first thing that I would conclude is that the materials that were installed were not the same as those that were inspected in many instances, In other instances, it's possible that there was damage that occurred after they were inspected and then brought to the site and installed.
What is the lesson or the lessons that we should have learned from this whole episode?
One of the major lessons is that the quality control process, whether it's a contracted out quality control process or a state employee quality control process or a combination of the two, needs redundancy so that a mistake made by one individual or one team of individuals does not go unchecked, does not get hidden like the failure to put drainage in a system gets hidden.
Was there evidence reported by McGuire to the DOT that was not acted on? In other words, were there some of these problems brought forward to the DOT and then just kind of fell through the cracks? Or was it more that just never got up through to the DOT level?
We're not seeing evidence of that. What we're seeing is that these problems were not being brought up to the DOT level.
Are we to say that we shouldn't, from this project back, we shouldn't review it and just move forward? I guess my question is, my concern is this, that we see it continuously happening in state government. We see it at UConn, for example, when they did shoddy, substandard work for the dormitories. Instead of really correcting the problem, we all kept saying, well, let's move forward. Let's, you know, we understand the problem, let's move forward. And then about 2 months ago, it came out that those dormitories still haven't been inspected. The work that was supposed to be done hasn't been done. The legislature reappointed all of the trustees who were there at the time of the debacle that took place, or the scandal that took place, and that's my concern, that all of that work back to 2002 is going to be forgotten and said, well, you know, we uncovered one problem, let's correct it and let's move forward. We're very quick to do that in government. And my concern is that there may be some looming problem that's going to be a major liability to this state, and frankly, not only from a financial one, but from a human interest one, if someone is hurt. So is there any criteria that you're going to put in place to check every other project, every 5th project, every 10th project, to get an idea to see if the work was properly done?
We have no plans at this point, but I think the point's worth considering, and we'll work with you to determine if there's an appropriate criteria for doing that.
I guess the question is that road safe?
We believe that working with we believe the answer is yes. The road is safe today as a result of the good work of STV and the department after the fact. We believe the road is safe now.
Because I will be traveling it extensively, so I want to be sure. And my brand-new grandson, born yesterday, will be going over too, so I want to be sure, and my constituents.
The committees also heard testimony from the Commissioners of Transportation and Public Safety, both of whom were named to their positions after the I-84 investigation began.
While the problems and issues concerning the contractors and consultants' work on 84 occurred prior to my becoming commissioner, I know that it is now my responsibility, and I take that responsibility seriously, to understand what went wrong, how to best correct it, and to develop procedures and processes to prevent it from ever happening again. With the help from my very capable deputies and staff, we have already made significant progress towards this goal and towards improving the agency itself.
Quality assurance seems to be the key, what I keep hearing throughout this oversight hearing. How do you want to put that into place, though, Commissioner?
Well, what we're going to do is we have, out of the personnel that we are receiving in this budget, we're going to take, I believe, 16 of those people and form this unit. Now, we did, I know the question came up earlier, was a unit like that ever in existence in the past? Years ago, there was in fact a quality assurance unit. But with time and the depletion of staff, that unit went by the wayside. So our plans are to develop a system by which we not only review the process, but we do a continuous review of major projects to ensure that they're sticking to the contract guidelines.
The specific question posed to the department is whether we see any existing or potential safety issues with regard to the work that's been done on Interstate 84, and the short answer to that is that we do not.
The overlap of the public safety concern when the DOT project like this one goes bad and there are issues about washouts, subterranean washouts, or sinkholes, or light standards that might fall, how do you interrelate, how does your agency interrelate with DOT to ensure that those public safety issues are addressed to your satisfaction?
Well, we will rely, and we have to rely on DOT with its engineering capabilities to determine whether there is a genuine physical risk to the public as a result of the manner in which the construction took place. That's their area of expertise. If they identify a specific risk to the public, then our people in our traffic division and others will step forward to make sure the public's protected with regard to that specific incident. We have received no information, and I think it was confirmed here today, that there is, as a result of what's happened on I-84, an immediate and specific risk to the public. But we stand ready to respond the minute any evidence to the contrary arises.
The hearing continued on Friday, including testimony from the Attorney General and DOT employees.